Have you ever wondered if one quiet decision could echo across generations? On a cold December evening in 1955, one woman chose to remain seated. She didn't shout, she didn't fight. She simply refused to give up her dignity. That single act of courage would inspire millions and help change the course of American history. History often celebrates the loudest voices, the great speeches, the famous marches, the unforgettable moments that fill history books. But sometimes, history changes because someone quietly decides that enough is enough. This is the true story of Rosa Parks, a woman whose courage became a symbol of hope, justice, and human dignity for generations around the world. But before she became known as the mother of the civil rights movement, she was simply Rosa, a daughter, a wife, a seamstress, and a woman who grew tired of being treated as though her life mattered less than everyone else's. Rosa Louise Macaulay was born on February 4, 1913, in Tuskegee, Alabama. She grew up during a time when racial segregation shaped nearly every part of daily life in the American South. From an early age, she saw two very different worlds. One offered opportunities, respect, and freedom. The other was filled with restrictions, discrimination, and constant reminders that Black Americans were expected to accept unequal treatment. After her parents separated, Rosa moved with her mother to Pine Level, Alabama, where she was raised alongside her younger brother under the care of her grandparents. Her grandparents believed deeply in education, faith, and self-respect. Those lessons would remain with Rosa for the rest of her life. As a young girl, she watched her grandfather stay awake at night to protect the family from threats of racial violence. Those memories never left her. They taught her that courage wasn't always loud. Sometimes, courage meant simply refusing to live in fear. Even going to school reflected the inequalities of the time. White children often traveled to well-funded schools on buses. Rosa, like many Black children, walked long distances to attend a school with fewer resources. Every day, the message was the same: you are expected to accept less. Yet Rosa refused to let those circumstances define her. She loved learning. She believed education could open doors that prejudice tried to keep closed. Even as a young girl, she quietly questioned why people should be judged by the color of their character instead of the content of their character and the kindness in their hearts. As Rosa grew older, life brought both responsibility and hardship. She left school for a time to care for her grandmother and later her mother when they became ill. Like many families during that era, survival often came before personal dreams. In 1932, Rosa married Raymond Parks, a barber who shared her belief that injustice should never be accepted simply because it had existed for a long time. Raymond encouraged Rosa to continue her education, and with his support, she earned her high school diploma. At a time when very few Black women had that opportunity, it was an important achievement. Together, they dreamed of a future where every person would be treated with dignity and respect. Rosa eventually found work as a seamstress. Day after day, she carefully stitched clothing for other people. Her work required patience, precision, and quiet dedication, the same qualities that would later define one of history's most famous moments. But beyond her work, Rosa had already begun helping her community. Long before the world knew her name, she became active in the Montgomery chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. She worked alongside local leaders helping document cases of injustice and supporting efforts to protect the rights of Black Americans. Her courage did not begin on a bus. It had been growing quietly for years. To understand Rosa Parks' decision, we first need to understand the world she lived in. Segregation wasn't just about where someone sat on a bus. It affected schools, restaurants, hospitals, parks, libraries, water fountains. Even the simple act of casting a vote could be met with obstacles designed to keep Black citizens from participating fully in democracy. Everyday life required constant patience, constant restraint, constant reminders that equality remained out of reach. Public buses were one of the clearest examples of this system. Black passengers paid the same fare as everyone else, yet they were often expected to board through the front door, pay, step back off the bus, and re-enter through the rear entrance. Sometimes, before they could even get back on, the driver would pull away, leaving them standing in the street after taking their money. It was humiliating, and it happened far too often. For Rosa Parks, these moments weren't isolated experiences, they were part of everyday life. Still, she carried herself with quiet dignity. She believed every human being deserved respect, and although she rarely sought attention, she never stopped believing that injustice could be challenged. On the evening of December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks finished another long day of work as a seamstress in Montgomery, Alabama. Like thousands of other people, she boarded a city bus to make the journey home. She quietly took a seat in the section designated for Black passengers. As the bus continued its route, more white passengers climbed aboard. Soon, every seat in the white section was occupied. Under Montgomery's segregation laws, the bus driver had the authority to move the dividing line between the white and black sections whenever more seats were needed. The driver approached Rosa's row. He ordered the 4 black passengers sitting there to give up their seats. 3 stood up. Rosa Parks remained seated. Years later, many people assumed she refused because she was physically exhausted after work, but Rosa herself explained that this wasn't the reason. She wasn't tired because her feet hurt. She was tired of giving in, tired of living under rules that denied people their dignity simply because of the color of their skin. She looked at the driver with quiet determination. She didn't shout, she didn't argue, she didn't insult anyone. She simply refused to move. Moments later, the police arrived. Rosa Parks was arrested for violating the city's segregation ordinance. As she was escorted away, few could imagine that history had just taken a different path. News of Rosa's arrest spread quickly throughout Montgomery. Friends, neighbors, church leaders, and civil rights organizers saw more than the arrest of one woman. They saw an opportunity to peacefully challenge a system that had treated Black Americans unfairly for generations. Community leaders called for a one-day boycott of Montgomery's public buses. The message spread through churches, neighborhood meetings, and thousands of printed leaflets. When the morning arrived, something extraordinary happened. The buses were nearly empty. Instead of riding, people walked. Some walked a few blocks, others walked for miles. Workers walked before sunrise, parents walked carrying children, elderly men and women walked despite aching legs. Some shared rides in carpools organized by volunteers. Others simply kept putting one foot in front of the other, not because it was easy, but because they believed change was worth the sacrifice.
The boycott continued. 1 week became 2. 2 weeks became months. The movement eventually lasted 381 days. During that time, thousands of ordinary people showed extraordinary determination. Churches became meeting places filled with hope. Neighbors supported one another. Drivers volunteered to transport workers. Communities found strength in unity. Among the emerging leaders was a young pastor named Martin Luther King Jr. With powerful speeches rooted in nonviolence, faith, and justice, he encouraged people to remain peaceful even when facing intimidation and hardship. The road was far from easy. Many participants lost jobs. Some received threats. Others lived each day wondering what tomorrow might bring. Yet they continued, because they believed that every person deserved equal treatment under the law.
Their courage inspired people far beyond Montgomery. It inspired an entire nation. While the movement gained momentum, Rosa Parks paid a heavy personal price. She lost her job. Her husband also faced difficulties finding work. The attention surrounding her arrest made everyday life increasingly difficult. Eventually, the Parks family moved to Detroit, Michigan, hoping for a fresh start. Even there, life was not always easy, but Rosa never allowed bitterness to define her. She continued speaking about justice, equality, and the importance of treating every person with dignity. For decades, she worked quietly behind the scenes, encouraging young people to believe that peaceful courage could change the world. She never described herself as extraordinary. She simply believed that every human being deserved respect. And sometimes, standing up for what is right begins by refusing to stand at all. The Montgomery bus boycott ended in victory. In November 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a ruling that segregation on Montgomery's public buses was unconstitutional. After 381 days of peaceful determination, the boycott came to an end, marking a turning point in the struggle for civil rights. But Rosa Parks never believed the journey was over. She knew that changing laws was only the beginning. Changing hearts would take longer. For the rest of her life, she continued to encourage young people to stand up for justice with courage, wisdom, and compassion. She visited schools, spoke at community events, and reminded future generations that lasting change often begins with ordinary people making extraordinary choices. As the years passed, the quiet seamstress from Alabama became one of the most respected figures in American history. She received countless honors, not because she sought recognition, but because her courage inspired millions. But if you asked Rosa Parks what mattered most, she would likely point back to a simple truth. Every person deserves to be treated with dignity, no exceptions. History is often remembered through great battles, powerful leaders, or unforgettable moments. But sometimes, history changes in silence. Sometimes it changes when someone decides that fear will no longer have the final word. Rosa Parks didn't know how far her decision would travel. She couldn't have imagined the generations of children who would learn her name. She couldn't have imagined that her quiet courage would inspire people across the world.
She couldn't have known that her quiet courage would inspire people across the world to believe that peaceful action can challenge injustice. Her story reminds us that courage doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes courage is calm. Sometimes courage is patient. Sometimes courage is simply choosing to protect your dignity when the world asks you to surrender it. One seat, one decision, one woman. A legacy that continues to inspire people around the world. If Rosa Parks' story touched your heart, subscribe to Story Atlas for more remarkable true stories from every corner of the world. In honor of Rosa Parks, she didn't raise her voice, she raised the world's conscience.